Beautiful to see you all.
Well, the lesson for today is a beautiful one. Just go right into the lesson.
This is one of the most helpful lessons in the course, which I often say about them. But this one is particularly helpful because the human beings are usually very addicted to future planning.
I place the future in the hands of God. Today's idea takes another step toward quick salvation, and a giant stride it is indeed. So great the distance is that it encompasses, it sets you down just short of heaven, with the goal in sight and obstacles behind. Your foot has reached the lawns that welcome you to heaven's gate, the quiet place of peace, where you will await with certainty the final step of God. How far are we progressing now from earth? How close are we approaching to our goal? How short the journey still to be pursued? It's like a lot of exclamation points from Jesus there. He's very excited for this. He's very excited for us. Happy. Accept today's idea, and you have passed all anxiety, all pits of hell, all blackness of depression, thoughts of sin and devastation brought about by guilt. Accept today's idea, and you have released the world from all imprisonment by loosening the heavy chains that lock the door to freedom on it. You are saved, and your salvation thus becomes the gift you give the world, because you have received. In no one instant is depression felt, or pain experienced, or loss perceived. In no one instant, sorrow can be set upon a throne and worshipped faithfully. In no one instant can one even die.
In no one instant is sorrow put upon a throne. No death.
And so each instant given unto God in passing, with the next one given him already, is a time of your release from sadness, pain, and even death itself. God holds your future as he holds your past and present. They are one to him, and so they should be one to you. Yet, in this world, the temporal progression still seems real. And so you are not asked to understand the lack of sequence really found in time. You are but asked to let the future go and place it in God's hands. And you will see by your experience that you have laid the past and present in his hands as well, because the past will punish you no more, and future dread will now be meaningless. Release the future, for the past is gone, and what is present, freed from its bequest of grief and misery, of pain and loss, becomes the instant in which time escapes the bondage of illusions, where it runs its pitiless, inevitable course. Then is each instant which was slave to time transformed into a holy instant, when the light that was kept hidden in God's Son is freed to bless the world. Now is he free, and all his glory shines upon a world made free with him to share his holiness.
From this paragraph number 4. So he says, God holds your future as he holds your past and present. They are one to him, and so they should be one to you. Yet in this world, the temporal progression still seems real. The temporal progression still seems real. I think we all agree with this point. And so you're not asked to understand the lack of sequence really found in time. You're not asked to understand the lack of sequence really found in time. You're but asked to let the future go and place it in God's hands. And you will see by your experience that you have laid the past and present in his hands as well. So when we lay the future in his hands, we also lay the past in the present, because the past will punish you no more, and future dread will now be meaningless. That's a pretty good package deal. We get a pretty good deal when we make transactions with the Holy Spirit. When we give up our own thinking and start to think as God thinks. You know, that's what mind training is, to learn to think with God. That's the definition of mind training in the course. To learn to think with God. And we do it by laying the future in the hands of God. And by keeping doing that. Continuing doing that. Release the future, for the past is gone. That's easy to understand. The past is gone. What happened yesterday is not happening right now. So that's very easy to understand. I like those explanations. The Course gives us such helpful explanations, you know. In many traditions, we learn that, yeah, the present moment is all there is. But here he explains this a bit more. It helps us because we're quite intellectual. We're quite, you know, great thinkers in a way. So we want explanations, and we get them. We get all the explanations that we need when we seek it from spirit, through the Course or through going within. So helpful. Well, how is everyone? Do we have anyone that would like to begin sharing? Michael, good to see you, Michael. What first
Thank
session?
you. Beautiful to be here. Thanks everybody for sharing. But one question that I do have is related to, like, most holy assignments that I see that are romantic relationships that are assigned so that the mind can be healed, so that each partner can look at what needs to be healed. I'm not sure if this is true, but it seems like they're temporary assignments, and then once what's healed needs to be healed, they move on to whatever else is next on their journeys. But is that always the case? Are there, like, in other words, does the Spirit put together lifelong holy relationships and they stay together until the end, so to speak, whatever that might be?
Yeah, there is no right way or wrong way, or a way that spirit does. One thing you can say about relationships is that they get maximized. They don't end until you're ready for it to end. They don't end until the lesson is fully learned. Sometimes the ego fear comes up. So you run away from someone or from a relationship. But yeah, they definitely, the gift of it is that they last until the lesson is learned. So, but there can be a lot of fear of loss. Some people don't even open up to start a relationship because so much fear of the ending and loss, So for me, it was helpful to realize that relationships get maximized, which means that, yes, you do get all the lessons that you need, And I used to be so afraid of loss that it was like almost like a constant fear. And when I started to have relationships for awakening, relationships for healing, which I don't even call holy relationship, there's still specialness in those, but they're used for the purpose of healing. And there are aspects in them that are holy, because the purpose is holy. But to be able to talk to the partner about those fears, and I realized, oh my God, this relationship is not going to end until those fears have moved through, So
Yeah.
it was very helpful and nurturing.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I'd like to think the intellect would like to think that it's done some pretty good progress on abandonment and rejection issues, etc. But I've learned enough to never be anything more than just very cautiously optimistic. It's called getting hit upside the head with an emotional paddle, as I call it.
Right.
Those are the hardest ones, the ones that you think you've done pretty well with and healed, and then suddenly it's just like a blind side. And the wound can just be totally reopened, and they're tough for the reason because of the fact that the wound is being reopened in the present moment again, but they're even harder because the ego is so put off by the idea that it's still not healed, and especially if you put a lot of time in on it. But
that's okay.
At least I can be, but it is cool though, because I can be humorous about it at this point, because it doesn't really hurt that much anymore. Most of them, at least. Again, cautious optimism.
Yeah, and it's always healing. It's always, you have never lost anything. Sometimes, it can seem like you put a lot of time into someone or a relationship, and it can seem like, oh my God, I wasted all that time because it ended. But that's not the way the Holy Spirit sees it, because there's always healing and learning and helpfulness. Even when there is loss, maybe there's even more healing because something deep is flushed up.
Yeah.
The wound is triggered.
Yeah. Do you mind if I ask another question, or is that hogging time, screen time?
Not at all. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So then it just feels like the days of just being a guy in the world and then maybe wanting to meet somebody and then just saying, well, that person looks like somebody I might want to meet, maybe I could have coffee with that person. It just feels like those days are over. And it just feels like it really isn't unfolding, and anything other than allowing the unfolding is interfering. So I don't want to use the word that I don't have the option to do something like that. How do you guys feel about that? If I see somebody today and I want to talk to them, can I just go do that, or does it has to feel intuitively guided?
Yeah, but sometimes, and inspired impulse is intuitive guidance.
Inspired impulse.
You can be inspired to ask someone for a cup of coffee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me add some detail so you guys can chime in some more in this. So there have been many signs, a particular symbol that showed up over and over again in relation to, unmistakably in relation to a certain person that's in my life right now, that I kind of see off and on here and there, and not seeing as in dating or anything like that, but it seems like it might be going in that direction based off of the symbols. So I feel like what you're saying is true. There's intuitive inspiration could fall into that category, of just talking to somebody like that and setting something up. But at the same time, there's this feeling of, well, this other thing seems to be on the horizon. So should I wait? In other words, you know what I mean? Does it have to be either or?
Well, what you do need to do, which is the lesson of today, give up planning.
Is that planning? Am I planning? I'm not reading symbols.
It's okay to be open to symbols because they're everywhere. And the more open you're to symbols, the more you will see, the more signs will be seen, because that's like seeing with the right mind. It's being miracle-minded, and you will end up having symbols everywhere.
I've learned that one the hard way. Yeah, absolutely. So, I know what you mean. Yeah.
But then it is the figuring out, the analyzing, the wondering, what does that mean, But in a deep place, when you follow your heart, there is this, don't let the right hand know what the left hand does, I'm not sure if I say it right, but something like that. And that's like a very relaxed state of mind. Like you don't figure it out. You allow it to come in. You allow it, and you can't really go wrong. So don't be too hard on yourself with the steps you take or don't take, because Spirit's way with you when you give over your mind like this is very strong, and Spirit will help you get you in the right direction. So if you go in a direction that's not helpful for you, you will feel it pretty soon.
Yeah.
If you open, you just, feel it. Spirit comes like this.
Yeah, like when she steals my car or something. Yeah. That might be a sign.
Yeah.
But if she just steals your heart,
Yeah. Wait till the woman who steals your heart.
Oh my gosh.
It's the song with Kirtana, she steals your heart and she takes everything from you. That's the angel of awakening. When she comes, she sings like this: when she comes, you will have no time to think or pack.
Wow. Oh wow. So that there is such a thing.
I can play that song. It's profound.
So here, so would that be like, okay, so I've been looking at the whole twin flame, slash she's the one belief system, the one for me. And I've completely discarded that whole thing. And I feel like that's a very healthy, or, it just seems like a belief system that is going to create a desire for a special relationship, which is based on self-hatred, so, but that doesn't mean that once you heal to a certain degree, or even at any point, I guess, for that matter, that the right person can't come along. But I don't know, how do you guys feel I don't feel that there's just one person out there that could fill those shoes, so to speak. I feel like it's just more of two people that are on this at the same point in their journeys that can complement each other's growths.
Yeah.
But
I want to give you the shortcut.
Huh?
I want to give you the shortcut.
Okay, I would love it.
It's to keep giving up thinking about the little me from the perspective of the little me, because it's the little me that has those questions. When you give over Michael to spirit, when you keep giving over Michael and open up to more and more and more trust, the relationship you need are going to be given you. They come along. And yes, you're going to have an experience in the end of one huge, big twin flame. There is this, your heart will open more and more. You will fall in love more and more. And that can be quite a few strong experiences of twin flames or of this one. But yeah, I don't really believe in the idea of twin flames, or because this is a journey of realizing the truth, which is there's only one of us here. So yeah. So, but yeah, there can be temporary relationships that feel very profound, like a twin flame, like very powerful, holy relationship.
Okay, so that's the key word. That's what I was kind of waiting for. Because I'm thinking, up until you just said holy, I'm thinking that I need to be aware of that, because that's just unhealed specialness, isn't it? You're saying there's a powerful, holy relationship with an other that's possible, where that would be a whole, I've never had an experience like that. It sounds like what you're probably referring to, I'm thinking, is extending love, like actual love beyond the ego.
Yeah, I mean, this journey is just so much undoing. This is a journey of undoing. And the more you peel off the onion, you get closer to holiness. And holy relationship is in the mind. It's the most natural experience. It's like the experience of the miracle, and it can include another. It can include a relationship, or even a marriage, or it can show up that way. But the focus is really the undoing of specialness, because the specialness is the little me. It's the focus on the separate self. And this whole world is like specialness haven or something, like all the souls seem to come here to play out specialness, to be the little special one, and crave relationships as a replacement for God. Jesus says that in the Course. It's the belief that you lost the love of God that creates this desire to be special for other people.
Yeah. So can you touch a little bit more on the analogy of like stealing, if she steals my heart, then is that like an endearing, holy thing? Or is that I feel robbed because I haven't feel special relationship yet?
I think it's endearing. If you fall in love with somebody and feel like they stole your heart, and you're really like head over heels, they say, watch your mind, be in it, with open, watching your mind, but watch your fears and let them fall to the side, That's, because this journey is about opening your heart. And that very song, I can maybe play it. I played it not so long ago. It's about awakening. It's about, when she comes for you, you won't regret, you won't have time to think or pack, and you won't look back. And that's like this. Yeah, it can be a woman, it can be, someone you fall in love with. But it's really about the desire for awakening and the fear of loss that comes, the fear of losing everything. This idea, like Lena brought up, that her friend had asked her, do I have to give up my job? Do I have to give up everything to awaken? That's terrifying. Usually that's terrifying, and not many people want to even go there or look there. So, but yeah, the stepping stone is to say yes to a relationship that's given by the spirit, that is helpful for healing, where you get a chance to deeply allow some fear to come up.
Yeah.
That's very.
So I just want to share one last point. So for example, I've been healing rejection, feeling rejected as a child, which is not completely yet, but I've done a lot of, I've made some good progress on flipping that whole script of blaming my parents even as an infant, and seeing as I desired this experience exactly as it has been the entire time. For some reason, I wanted to experience what it was like to be completely rejected as a baby. Maybe it was past lives, whatever. I don't really get too much into that anymore. But in other words, there was confusion most of my life because of wondering about, why my father wasn't around from the time I was young, and when he was around, why there was violence. And so now I know that I projected all those experiences, and really, really making some pretty decent progress on taking full responsibility for that, and doing a lot of forgiveness work towards parents. So, that's obviously spilled into other areas. Rejection in general is sometimes interpreted in some of the smallest little details, just in a normal day, let alone in romantic relationships. There's just like this unconscious thing that I wasn't aware of for many years of, you say hi to the cashier, they don't say hi back, and it feels like a snub, and it feels, for me, probably more so than maybe some or many others, even, I don't know. It used to feel hurtful, it used to bother me. So in other words, that is more or less gone. So there's an example there was an unconscious desire for pain and suffering, a specific one for rejection in this case.
Yeah. And relationships are super, super helpful, in this awakening, because you do get so many opportunities to face so much, So
yeah,
fear of loss, fear of rejection, fear of pain, fear of abandonment, fear of being hurt.
Yes, absolutely. Where it's coming from is this idea of, if I hear like she's going to steal my heart, the ego says, oh, well, if that's possible, then I better do as much healing as possible, so I don't put myself in the position. So it's really just, I hear what you're saying. It may not be worth worrying about, but it's coming from a place of not wanting to experience suffering, which to me is, I wouldn't call it, I would say it's sanity, but it is projecting, I agree, into the future. But
Michael, I just want to say, then you work with that. If you have fear thoughts around, what if someone steals my heart? I don't want to be hurt. If it ends, that fear is right here. That fear is right now. So you can practice the forgiveness around that fear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fear of hurt.
It's the same reason I don't go over to my parents. They invite me over to dinner 6 nights a week, but there's been a shift where I don't necessarily go over so many nights anymore, because my mother is the one person that triggers some of the hurtful feelings that are still potentially there, like some of the where I'm still emotionally vulnerable to certain things that she could say. Some of them might not even be aware of. So
yeah,
it's just kind of a slightly different approach of, let's cover as much of that as we can and stay away and then heal and then go over a couple of days a week. And it's a better balance,
This is what we talked about the other day, and you're following your heart with that, following guidance around when to go there. How do you feel? Because you can always say no. You can always say no. And this is, what is so helpful to allow. Say no, thanks, not today, or, and I love your curiosity, and yeah, if you want to, we seem to talk about the retreats now. I was thinking of the retreat in Vancouver. If you want to come up, we are going to be in Vancouver in Canada quite soon.
Yeah, less than 2 weeks.
Really?
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Yeah. It's just over a weekend, 28th to the 30th.
Is Eckhart going to be there?
What?
Eckhart, totally.
Is Eckhart going to be there?
Well,
He'd be welcome.
you tell him about it. Maybe he'll sign up too.
He probably would, actually.
Yeah, that would be fun. We could collaborate with Eckhart. That would be awesome. But yeah, just felt to let you know, and maybe we'll move on and see if there are more shares here. But yeah, it's been lovely to talk with you again, and I feel all your curiosity. It's great. It's beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michael. Love you.
Love you. Thank you.
Okay, do we have anyone else? And you can, if these topics have kind of made you start to think a lot, we can take a little short moment just to release the thoughts and come back to the present moment. We place the future in the hands of God. Take some breaths. Okay. Glory?
My internet's not very stable.
Okay.
I think, I would like to share just something that I felt a reaction to in the lesson. Yeah, it was, think you the world could fail to gain thereby, and every living creature not respond with healed perception. And I thought, like, the whole lesson just feels heavenly, absolutely wonderful, but there's just a massive doubt. Yeah, and that, because there's a kind of, I don't want to believe that line, because then I'm worried that there'll be disappointment, because there's expectations around what that means.
Yeah.
I think, and then when you said, like, Jesus will give you everything you need on this path, and I feel like I really need to see that my healing will heal the whole. I want to see those symbols and signs that confirm there's some fear of future punishment for being on this path.
Yeah, it's because there's a huge guilt. There's a huge guilt in the mind. It's called the ontological guilt from the separation, belief in separation. And it is projected onto special relationships. And there is this fear that you can hurt someone and that you're not going to get those reflections. But that line is excellent. It is a guarantee, So this is a time of you facing the guilt, releasing the guilt. That's all. So for now, you could take out that line, and still, if it puts pressure on you right now. But I assure you that it is true.
Yay!
So the more you take the steps, the less wrong you can go, actually. when you're willing, it's, you feel it. You will feel like, and so that's how spirit redirects, like what I talked about earlier, like there's this help coming if you try to go to take a slower, a delay, to do a delay or something. But right now, I think, yeah, you're gently on track. Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad the communication came through, even though connection was poor. It's another sign. So much support. Wow, this has been so beautiful.
Yeah.
Courageous and precious.
And always, 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 you are appreciated.
Completely. Thanks, everyone.
Till next time.